So just imagine this moment in time. Maybe you're a manager, maybe you're not. Maybe you're a supervisor, maybe you're a high up manager. Every manager needs to take stock of where they are, like an inventory, to figure out, okay, where am I and what are the things I need to most work on. So when you do that, the things to take into consideration to ask yourself, okay, is what is my training in management? Now, because a lot of people have done management, but they haven't had any training in it, or at best, rudimentary training. And when I speak about training, I'm talking about professional training, actual training, not just somebody who is not a qualified manager training you after work. That's not what I'm talking about. Then the next question to ask yourself is, what is my previous experience? Is my previous experience in humanitarian work only? Do I have previous experience in management from before? Or is this my first time managing? Or do I have a couple of missions or a couple of years experience, but I haven't been trained? Then you have to ask yourself as well, because it's very important, what is my cultural baggage? What are my beliefs about what a good manager is, and how might my cultural baggage clash with whoever I have to be managing, depending on what context I'm in, So if I'm a national staff, what's my cultural history? If I'm an international staff, what's my cultural history? And if I'm going to be managing national staff, how am I going to adapt? And remember, it's us that need to adapt to national staff, not vice versa. So that's important to understand your beliefs, how you've managed before, what are your attitudes, and how they affect how you act. A lot of people, what they do is they do kind of copy and paste management. They manage the same every no matter what post they're in, and that's called, I would call that stunted growth management. So every time you manage a new team or you occupy a new role, or you move up the food chain, you should be getting better and better. But what I see, or what tends to happen, is that people stay the same and they just move around, especially international stuff. They move around from country to country and just do the same thing they did in their first mission. That's kind of, unless they have a good boss, a good manager, a well-trained manager who is able to indicate the areas of growth that they need to have. And because most people aren't honest when they do the performance evaluations, people kind of go on, I'm great, I'm fantastic. And if there's no feedback to the contrary, then the person continues proceeding and acting and functioning the way they have been for a long time. So a good manager, it requires development and progression, not stagnation. You should know where you are stronger, in which areas you're stronger, which areas you're weaker. Some people think they're brilliant planners, for example, but they are useless in communicating the plans to their teams or getting their teams to execute the plans. So there's no point being a great planner if you're not able to communicate your plans. There's no point being a great strategist if you're unable to explain your strategies and convert them into actionable items. So you need to know where you're stronger, where you're weaker, and to work, obviously, on your weaker points, right? And make sure that your stronger points are not, you're not relying on them too much. And then it's about how well you know yourself, because a lot of management at the end of the day comes down to personality. Yes, it's extremely important to work on skills and techniques, let's say, but your personality will always come through. It would be weird, let's say, if you were from 9 to 5 a one type of person, and then as soon as you finish your job, you're suddenly a completely different person. You are you, whether you're a manager, whether you're a leader, whether you're having a coffee with somebody. Okay, so Obviously, there's certain framings of relationships, but that's different. You're still, your personality will come through. So you have to know yourself well to know what part of your personality traits help you become a better manager, and which of your personality traits are not so great for your management, right? And that needs taking an inventory that's very honest about yourself. And if you don't know yourself well enough, you can always ask people you trust to tell you. Though, as I always say, if you ask that question, be prepared for the answer. Then it's good to think of what problems and feedback have I received in the past, even though most times people won't give you true feedback. But sometimes you might have received credible feedback. And a lot of people, as I said before, they think about the negative feedback too much, or the positive feedback. But what you need to think about is, okay, what in the feedback that I've received is recurrent? There's a pattern always, yeah? And can I see that in what I do, right? So that's very important to think about where you've had problems in the past, because problems are the great revealer at the end of the day, no? If you've had problems in relationships, with your teams, with your boss, etc., it's good to analyze those problems and to not always blame the other person, but to see what was your part in that problem, yeah? Management is very much about relationships. So analyzing the type of relationships and the problems that you've had emerging from certain types of relationships will give you an indication of what you need to work on, yeah? Much more than feedback. Problems are a great indicator, great revealer. And then be careful of thinking you're a good manager or a good leader, yeah? Management and leadership is about humility and about knowing what you don't know, and about always working and striving to get better. Better for you, better for your teams, better for your boss, better for what we're doing in the field, which is basically trying to make whatever program or whatever programs we're implementing have the greatest impact possible. Yeah, and that's what you need to keep always front of mind when you're a manager, no matter what level you're at. The whole point of humanitarian work is to create as much beneficial impact as possible. So to get all kind of territorial or ego-driven and all of that, all of the things we know that happen in humanitarian work, it just gets in the way of that. So we're very quick to talk about the population and everything's for the population, but then we forget to check our own egos and our own, how we're getting in the way of something, right? We're there to contribute, to make things easier, not to make things more difficult. And if you're managing a team, your job is to make sure that that team, and we'll see this in later videos, is working within the machine to generate as much positive impact for as many people as possible, and not getting in the way or delaying or becoming an obstacle, right? And then we'll talk about it in a separate video. Emotional intelligence is one of the most important things in a manager and a leader. I would say much more important than the ability to write good reports or to plan to the absolute detail. No, imagine, because management and leadership are all about relationships, and emotional intelligence is basically the ingredients for good relationship building, then emotional intelligence is very important to work on. And we will see what are the components of emotional intelligence and how to work on them in future videos. See you in the next one.